Isaac Newton was born on January 4th, 1643, in England. His mother, Hannah Askoff, was a typical Puritan woman of the time who did her best to hide her intelligence, so she wouldn't get into trouble with the church. His father, Isaac Newton, died before he was born, so little Isaac was raised by his grandparents. When Isaac was 3 years old, his mother remarried a wealthy landowner named Walter Custis. This made Isaac's life much easier, because now he had enough money for food, clothes, and education. But unfortunately, this also meant that he spent less time with his beloved grandmother. Because of this, young Isaac grew up resenting his mother. Later in life, he would call her a, quote, wicked, silly woman. Isaac was a bright kid, but his behavior was often called into question. At age 12, he was sent to a boarding school where he excelled at his studies, especially mathematics and Latin. Although he was brilliant, he could also be cruel. He tormented animals, pulled pranks, and got into fights. This caused the school's headmaster to call him, quote, a noisy, stubborn, and intractable boy. After finishing school, Isaac was sent to Trinity College at the University of Cambridge to study for the ministry. But he wasn't interested in religion. Instead, he focused on math and physics, publishing his first paper at age 21. The paper was about the unusual way that light can reflect off of a prism. A few years later, Isaac became an important figure in the scientific community. Then the plague hit, and Isaac was forced to return home. During this time, he developed his 3 laws of motion and his law of universal gravitation. These are some of the most important scientific discoveries ever made. But Isaac didn't think they were that great. He was actually really embarrassed about them. Why? Because he believed that another scientist, René Descartes, had discovered them first. René had died in 1650, but Isaac didn't know that. So he waited until 1687 to publish his work, thinking that it would make Descartes look bad. That year, he published one of the most important books ever written. The Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, or simply the Principles of Natural Philosophy. It contained his 3 laws of motion and his law of universal gravitation. This book was such a big deal that King Charles II of England knighted Isaac, making him Sir Isaac Newton. At around the same time, Isaac was made Master of the Mint, a position created to protect England's currency from counterfeiters. Although this job required him to work in London, Isaac mostly avoided people and kept to himself. He was already quite famous by this point, but most people didn't realize how brilliant he was. They thought he was a bit weird, but not dangerous. That all changed when he had a falling out with fellow scientist Robert Hooke. The two had been working together on a project, but Robert accused Isaac of stealing his ideas. This led to a bitter public fight that damaged both of their reputations. To make things worse, Isaac began having severe mental breakdowns. He would stay up for days without sleeping, then go for weeks without eating. Sometimes he would wander the streets of London in his nightgown, looking for food. In 1703, Isaac became president of the Royal Society, a prestigious group of scientists. Being in charge of this organization gave him a sense of purpose, and he began to recover. He spent his remaining years traveling back and forth between London and his home in Cambridge. In 1727, he suffered a stroke which left him partially paralyzed. He died on March 31, 1727, from complications of the stroke. He was buried in Westminster Abbey, not too far from the tomb of Sir Isaac Newton's hero, Galileo Galilei. Now you know how he went from a difficult child to arguably the most important scientist ever. Comment if you want to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.